I got back down to the hospital. I had a biopsy in January. Went back a couple weeks later. I went to the doctor, and he said, you've got squamous cell cancer at the base of the tongue. And it turned out later that we were talking about it occurred in heavy smokers and heavy drinkers, and I was none of the above. So I remember walking out of the hospital, standing there, just standing still outside the hospital, and all these people were walking in and out with blurred images from a movie. And at that point, I lost my identity. I wasn't Marty, the husband, the father, the coach, the basketball player, the son. I was Marty, the guy who got cancer. It was like a blanket had been draped over me, that blanket being the cancer. So every time I saw somebody, all they saw was a blanket. They didn't see me. And it was, and I lost my identity. So, and I'm saying I lost my identity, but we as a family lost our identity. And I equated it to like we're living in Middle Earth, where up top, on the surface of the earth, all the happy, healthy people were living, and we were living below the surface. All our calendars were wiped clean. Instead of going for social calendars, basketball, everything else, it was doctor, test, doctor, test. And I remember one of the first trips Julie and I took, my wife took to Princess Margaret. We were in the basement of Princess Margaret. I had to get a mask made so that they could make this plexiglass mask so they could bolt me to the table for the radiation treatment. And we're sitting across a mom and her son, who was 28 years old, a really good looking guy. And he had some grafts done on his face. And we started chatting. And he had been cancer free for a couple of years now. It had come back behind his eye. And he said a line to us, which we have never forgotten. He said, I just wish I could sweat the small stuff, because sweating the big stuff sucks. And, like we live by that. I love sweating the small stuff, because you don't want to sweat the big stuff. And so I remember going to the blood lab at Princess Margaret, and it felt like I was there with all the other warriors from Middle Earth. We're sitting there, waiting to give a blood test, only to meet with our doctor 2 or 3 weeks later, and he would give us a number that had no consequence to us before, but this number then would dictate where we're going to go as far as treatment. And when you look at Princess Margaret and most cancer care hospitals, they do a really cool thing at lunchtime. What they do is they have people come volunteer, they play the piano, or the quartet. So you have all these warriors from Middle Earth come out of the rooms in wheelchairs, stretchers, IVs, oxygen tanks, and they're there, and they for that minute of time or that piece of time, what they do is they're listening to music. They're taking a song and going to a happy place, and there's that one chance that they get to get out of Middle Earth and go back up to the surface where all the happy and healthy people are. So we were in Middle Earth, and we thought, okay, how do we get out of here? So I'm down 60 pounds. Clothes aren't fitting me very well. I got staples in my neck. So we decided to go to a coffee shop. So we get down there, sit down, and it's freezing cold. And we look over, and there's friends of ours over in the far corner, and they've seen us come in. And we were very close to these friends. We traveled out east with them. I lived with them at university. I was in his wedding party. And they just sort of looked over and waved and went back to the business. So we thought, okay, I guess it's not our time to come back up to the land of the happy and healthy. We were still stuck in Middle Earth. And so how do you get out of Middle Earth? And what we found as a family was talking to people. It was when people would reach out and ask me what happened, I would be able to talk to them. And you know, over the time period, there's not a lot of people who would ask me what happened. A lot of little kids would. They say, "Hey, what happened to you?" And I make up some story of Barrie got me, and they love that. I remember being in the lobby of Princess Margaret, and I thought, okay, here we go. I've always bought tickets for Princess Margaret, but this is the time that I'm going to win because, hey, I got cancer and I'm buying it at Princess Margaret. So I'm telling the girl, I said, this is going to be my chance. And there's a guy beside me, a blind guy beside me. He said, oh, I went into CNIB lottery for the first time and I won it. I'm like, man, that's unbelievable. What'd you win? He said, binoculars. True story. I can't even make that up. It was hilarious. So it took us a while to get out of Middle Earth, right? If you don't get out of Middle Earth, you just don't go, okay, I'm out of Middle Earth. Or you try to get out of it physically, spiritually, mentally, right? So there's some days where you're like right now, you know, you might be a trigger, and you'll go back into Middle Earth, mentally or physically, right? So I found the best way to get out of Middle Earth would be talking to people. So I turned into that guy, you know, that guy in the elevator who starts up a conversation. And everybody's standing there like this, looking down. And I'm that guy, and I'm going, you know, and you start up with, you know, hey, it's cold out today, what's with this spring, and you know, all that kind of stuff. And it really, you know, it really makes my day when I talk to people, and you just, you open, you know, the old thing, you never judge a book by its cover, but you really do enrich your life if you talk to people. And so here I am at Tim Hortons. I'm standing in line for a coffee. I look behind me, an elderly gentleman, and he's got some facial reconstruction. So I had a choice. I'm going, okay, I can go get my coffee and go, or I can ask him, you know, I'd say, hey, it looks like you've been through something, right? So I did. I said, it looks like you've been through something. So it's me like leaning down into Middle Earth, pulling this gentleman up and having a conversation with him. We had a conversation throughout the line, and we talked for another 10 minutes outside of Tim Hortons. And it was such a cool feeling. There's a true story. There's a professor who was teaching communication and values. And he taught from 2 to 4 o'clock every Thursday in the semester. And at 4 o'clock, a custodian would come in and clean the room. The students would all be still milling around. They'd be talking to the professor, talking to each other. It was the last class of the day. So the exam time comes. And the students had all been studying the books, everything else. And they come to the classroom, all their exams were set up in front of them. The professor says, okay, turn your exam over. The exam had one question on it. The question read, at the end of our class for the past semester, a custodian has come into the room and cleaned the room. And then space provided, name that custodian. One person out of 200 got the correct answer. There is a tribe in Africa, in the grasslands, I'm not sure what country, who, when they travel, when they're walking through this trail, instead of saying, hi, how are you, they say a word which means, I see you. Okay? And just think of all the people we see each day that we never see. So I leave you with this. 1, be the person who passed the exam and see people. Thank you.